ओम सदाशिवसमारंभां शंकराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। केनोपनिषद खंड 1 मंत्र 6। यन्मनसा न मनुते येनाहुर्मनो मतम् तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि नेदं यदिदमुपासते। तदेव ब्रह्मत्वं विद्धि नेदं यदिदमुपासते। This statement is repeated. The repetition is called abhyasa. Abhyasa is one of the indicatory marks of the purport of a given section of Vedanta. If a particular idea is repeated, that means it is the purport of the section of the Vedanta. Now here, Tadeva Brahmatvam Viddhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate is a statement that is conveying Jiva Brahma Aikya, the oneness between Jiva and Brahman. There is no difference between the true nature of Jiva and Brahman. This idea is being repeated. Previously, the Brahman was revealed as the one who is responsible for the functioning of Vagindriya. Now, in this mantra, the Upanishad is revealing the same Brahman as the one who is responsible for the functioning of the mind, Manaha, the Manas. In this context, Manas refers to the Antahkarana. Mind, according to the Vedanta, mind is a part of our Sukshma Sharira, our subtle body. The subtle body consists of 5 Jnanendriyas, 5 senses of perception, 5 Karmendriyas, senses of action, 5 pranas, Prana means the one that is responsible for all the physiological functions in the body. There are 5 of them, 5 pranas, and also an antahkaranam. Antahkaranam is the mind. The word antahkaranam literally means the inner sense or inner instrument. So the antahkarana is called manaha in this context. The Brahman, manasa na manute. It cannot be objectified by the mind. It is the meaning. Manasa na manute. The Brahman is not thought by the mind, not known by the mind. It is the literal meaning. But then we need to analyze this statement a bit, because there are other statements in Vedanta which seem to be contradictory to this statement. For example, manasaivedamaptavyam of Kenopanishad. The Kenopanishad says, manasa eva idam aptavyam. One has to attain the Brahman only with the manas. And also another statement in Mundakopanishad, drishyate tvagriyaya buddhya sukshmaya sukshmadarshibhihi. The Brahman is known by buddhi, sukshmaya buddhya, agriyaya buddhya. The manas is known through a prepared buddhi. Buddhi is again mind. Therefore, the statement that we are finding here seems to be diagonally contradictory to the statements elsewhere in the Upanishad. And also, if we have to know something, we have to use our mind. Often there is a misconception. If you have to know Brahman, you should stop your mind from working. If you stop your mind from working, you cannot know anything. Because for any knowledge, you need your mind. You need your antahkarana. You need your buddhi. Only then knowledge is possible. Any knowledge. And the same is true with the Brahmajnana also. That is why the Upanishad says, manasai vedamaptavyam. The Brahman has to be known with the help of the mind only. We have to use the mind, because even when you are studying the Vedanta, even when you are studying the Upanishad, you are using your mind. The knowledge is happening only in the mind. The understanding is taking place only in the mind. Therefore, the Upanishad recognizes the importance of the mind in the understanding of Brahman, in the process of Brahmajnana. In fact, Brahmajnana is in the form of a vritti. Vritti means a function of our mind. Any jnana is in the form of a vritti in the mind. For example, knowledge of the table. When I see the table, can the host mute this everybody? Is there any provision to mute?
ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವ್ರು ಬಂದು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಪುಟಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಇದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅಪ್ರೂವ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಒಂದು ಅದ್ರ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಬರ್ಬೇಕು ನೋಡಿ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಕೇಳ್ತೀನಿ ನೋಡಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ಸಲ ಇದೆ ಸ್ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಎಲ್ಲಾನು ಅವ್ರು ಕಳಿಸ್ಬಿಡಿ. So any knowledge happens in the form of a vritti in the mind, a modification in the mind. So, for example, when I see the table, a modification happens in my mind corresponding to the table. It is called table akara vritti. A modification in my mind corresponding to the table. That is when I know the table. Likewise, any cognition happens in the form of a vritti, a modification in our mind. And the same is true with the Brahmajnana. Even the Brahmajnana, knowledge of the Brahman, also happens in the form of a vritti, a thought modification in our mind. Therefore, the Upanishad says, Manasai Vedamaptavyam Drishyate Tvagriyaya Buddhya. It is true, you need the mind. And not only you need the mind, you have to prepare the mind for Brahmajnana. Any mind cannot get Brahmajnana. You need Chitta Shuddhi.
The mind has to be prepared. Samskritam Manaha. Shankaracharya says, Samskritam Manaha Brahmajnane Sadhanam Bhavati. Samskritam Manaha means a prepared mind, a purified mind, a refined mind. It serves as a means, a sadhana, an instrument for Brahmajnana. Yeah. So, can you hear? Yeah. Samskritam Manaha, a refined, purified mind, is the sadhana, the instrument for Brahmajnana. That is why, in order to purify the mind, one has to do a certain type of sadhana, as we have discussed earlier in day 1, Nishkama Karma, performing all the karmas that are enjoined by the Shastra. Bhagavad Gita talks about various karmas, yajna, dana, and tapas. Yajnena, danena, tapasa. Performing yajna. Yajna includes the puja, japa, all these things. Any process through which one relates to the divinity is yajna. It can be puja, it can be japa, it can be chanting of the stotra. Dana, giving, charity, and tapas, austerities. Tapas includes the austerities, and the tapas also includes holding on to the values, holding on to the values prescribed by the Shastra, even at the time of difficulties. For example, truthfulness. If one holds on to the value of truthfulness, even at the time of difficulty, it is a tapas. Satya, ahimsa, leading a simple life without luxury. All these things are tapas. So, the mind is prepared for Brahma Vidya, for Brahmajnana, with the help of such karmas. So, a pure mind, a mind free from impurities, serves as a sadhana, an instrument for Brahma Vidya. It is told in the Shastra. The understanding of Brahman also happens in the mind. Therefore, one should prepare the mind and one should make the mind available, focus the mind on the Brahma Vidya, on the teaching. It is very much there. Then what does this statement mean? Yan manasa namanute. Here there is a difference. There is a difference between understanding any other object and understanding Brahman. The Vedanta Shastra talks about vritti vyapti and phala vyapti. These are two technical terms used in Vedanta. Vritti vyapti and phala vyapti. In any cognition, these two vyaptis take place almost simultaneously. We don't notice the difference in time. Let us take any object, let's say pot. There is a pot. If I have to know the pot, first of all, a vritti. Vritti means a modification in my mind should take place. The pot is in front of my eyes, and my eyes are my visual perception happens. The visual perception happens in my eyes, and then as a result of the visual perception, a modification happens in my mind. An image of the pot is created in my mind. A thought modification in my mind corresponding to the pot. It is called vritti-vyapti. It is technically explained in Vedanta as the mind pervading the object. The mind extends to the object and pervades the object, takes the form of the object as it were. It is called vritti-vyapti. The purpose of vritti-vyapti is to remove the ignorance of the object. The ignorance of the object is removed by the vritti-vyapti. Ajnana nasha is the function of vritti-vyapti. But then, in the case of the pot, the vritti-vyapti alone is not enough. Because the pot is insentient. Jada. Jada means insentient. Since the pot is insentient, vritti-vyapti is not enough. Here we have to understand, even our mind is insentient. Even our mind is jada. Anything other than the Atma is Jada, insentient. Insentient means it does not have consciousness. Neither it can know any other object, nor it can know itself. Such a thing is called insentient, Jada. The table is Jada. Likewise, even our mind is Jada. Even our senses are Jada. Therefore, the Jada object, the pot is an insentient object. Being insentient, it cannot illumine itself. It cannot make itself known. It cannot make itself evident. Then, can the mind make it known? Can mind illumine the pot? The answer is no. Even the mind cannot illumine the pot because even the mind is Jada, insentient. One insentient cannot illumine another insentient. Therefore, you need the support of the Atma. The Atma illumines the mind first, and through the mind, it illumines the pot. The Atma, which is the Chaitanya, the consciousness, first illumines the mind, and by illumining the mind, it illumines the pot also, which has already pervaded the which has been already pervaded by the mind. This phenomenon is called phalavyapti by the ancient acharyas, ancient teachers of Vedanta. When the mind pervades the pot and takes the form of the pot, takes a form corresponding to the pot, it is called vrittivyapti. Because the mind taking a form corresponding to the pot is vritti. Vrittivyapti. The modification in the mind is called vritti. This modification pervading the pot is called vrittivyapti. Now, the Atma illumining the mind and through the mind illumining the pot is called phalavyapti. In the case of the pot or in the case of any other object, you need both vrittivyapti and phalavyapti. First of all, the vritti should reach the object. Then, through the vritti, the Chaitanya also should reach the object. The consciousness should also illumine the object. Only then any other knowledge is possible. Any other object becomes known. But in the case of the Brahman, in the case of the Atma, all you need is only vrittivyapti. Vrittivyapti means the mind should develop a vritti, a thought regarding the Atma, regarding the nature of the Brahman. An understanding should happen in the mind. It is called Vrittivyapti. The Vrittivyapti removes the ignorance of the Brahman, removes the ajnana. In order to remove the ajnana of the Brahman, Vrittivyapti is needed. But Phalavyapti is not needed in the case of Brahman. Why Phalavyapti is not needed? Because the Brahman is consciousness in its own nature. Brahman is the Chaitanya, the Chit, the consciousness. Being consciousness in its own nature, the Brahman need not be illumined by consciousness. The Brahman is not illumined by another consciousness. Because being consciousness, it is already self-evident, self-effulgent.
Can you connect me to Bahubali?
Therefore, Phalavyapti is not needed. It is the idea conveyed when the Shastra says, Yan manasana manute, the Brahman is not objectified by the mind, implies there is no Phalavyapti. Unlike any other object, the Brahman is not known through Phalavyapti. Only Vrittivyapti is needed. It is the explanation of this statement given by various acharyas. It is very much valid. Meanwhile, we can give a simpler explanation for those who are confused with the Vrittivyapti, Phalavyapti, etc. Let us keep it aside. If you do not understand, no problem. Because there is no exam. So, Manasana Manute means the Brahman cannot be visualized by mind, cannot be imagined by mind, and cannot be experienced by mind as an object. You cannot imagine Brahman. What is Brahman like? Is it like a ball? Somebody said Brahman is like a ball. We try to give a form. We try to imagine Brahman. If you try to imagine Brahman, it is a problem. Because Brahman is not available for our imagination, not available for visualization. Because you can imagine or visualize something, only that which has a form. which has some attributes. The formless, the attributeless cannot be imagined or visualized. And also, the Brahman cannot be experienced as an object at any state of mind. Can we experience Brahman with some mystical experience? It is not possible. If you experience someone, if you experience something at a particular state, it is not Brahman. Because what you experience at a given state is first of all an object. It is an object of your mind. And also, if something is experienced at a given state, that means it is confined to that state alone. And if something is confined to a given state, that means it is not there at other states. Therefore, it is limited in terms of time. Therefore, it cannot be Brahman. Therefore, yan manasana manute implies it cannot be visualized and it cannot be experienced at a given state. As an object. Yan manasana manute. Therefore, when we understand this meaning of yan manasana manute, it does not contradict the other statement of the Shruti Vakya, manasaivedamaptavyam, etc. Both statements are equally valid. We need the mind to understand the Brahman. Meanwhile, the mind cannot know Brahman as an object. Unlike any other things in the world. The mind understands the Brahman as the all-pervasive self, as the one that illumines even the mind, as the one who is illumining even the manas, as the one who is witnessing even the mind. Yenahur manomatam. Yena manaha matam ahuhu. The Brahman is the one who objectifies the mind. Mind does not objectify the Brahman. Brahman objectifies the mind. Brahman illumines the mind. Brahman witnesses the mind. Tadeva Brahmatvam Vidhi. It is the Brahman and it is your own self. It is your own true nature. Nedam yadidam upasate. What people worship, idam, Anything that is idam is not Brahman. There are two types of things, two types of objects. One is aham pratyaya yogya, the one that can be referred to as I, aham, the one that deserves to be called I. Another is idam pratyaya yogya, the one that deserves the reference idam, this. What deserves the reference idam? What deserves the reference this? Anything that becomes an object. For example, the table. The table deserves the reference idam, this. It does not deserve the reference aham, I, because the table is an object. It is very much evident as an object. Therefore, we don't have a confusion regarding the table. We never say I the table. We say this is a table. Idam is used. Idam table. This is a table. Idam pustakam. This is a book. The book, the table, they never deserve the reference I. Whereas the Brahman is the one who deserves the reference I. Because the Brahman is the one who never becomes an object, never becomes an object of consciousness, never becomes an object of awareness. Instead, it is the one which illumines everything else, which is responsible for knowing everything else. Therefore, the Brahman, the Atma alone, deserves the reference aham, I. That is why Brihadaranyaka says, aham brahmasmi, I am Brahman. The one who truly deserves the reference aham is Brahman. So aham brahmasmi, the one who deserves to be called aham is Brahman. Not idam. Anything that is idam means anything that is outside the Atma, anything that is a third person, not aham, not the Atma, an object. Anything that becomes an object, which people worship sometimes, it is not Brahman. No, it is not Brahman. It is not. Because Brahman is not anything other than the Atma. Anything other than the Atma is called Anatma, non-self. The Vedanta Shastra clearly teaches us that the Anatma is mithya. It is unreal. The entire universe is anatma and it is mithya. The atma is the Brahman and that alone is satya. Brahma satyam jagan mithya. Shankaracharya sums up the purport of Vedanta in half a shloka. He says the purport of entire Vedanta can be stated in half a shloka. Shlokardhena pravakshyami yaduktam grantha kotibhihi. The idea which is conveyed in hundreds of texts, hundreds of Upanishads, Ishopanishad, Kenopanishad, so many Upanishads are there. The Upanishads are the fundamental texts, the primary texts. And in support of the Upanishads, we have the Bhagavad Gita, Smriti. The Upanishads are called Shruti. Shruti Prasthana. We use the word Prasthana. Prasthana means Prakarshena Tishtati Vedanta Darshanam Asmin iti Prasthana. Prasthana is a body of literature in which the vision of Vedanta resides, is based on. So Upanishads together, all Upanishads together form a prasthana, a body of literature which form a source of the teaching of Vedanta, a source book. Prasthana can be understood as a source book. So Upanishads are called Shruti, Shruti Prasthana. Then there is Smriti Prasthana. Smriti is a secondary text written by the rishis, like Bhagavad Gita, mainly Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is called Smriti Prasthana. It is another source book of Vedanta. It is secondary because it is based on the Upanishads. Bhagavad Gita is a text based on the Upanishads. Therefore, it is called Smriti. Shruti are the primary. Smriti are the secondary. Smriti Prasthana. And then there is another Prasthana. It is the Brahma Sutras. Vyasa wrote a text called Brahma Sutras. It is in the form of sutras, aphorisms. And the Brahma Sutras analyze the teaching of Vedanta. It is an analytical work. And such analysis is called Nyaya. Therefore, Brahma Sutras is called Nyaya Prasthana. Shruti Prasthana, Upanishads. Smriti Prasthana, Bhagavad Gita. And Nyaya Prasthana, Brahma Sutras. These three are collectively known as Prasthana Traya. the threefold prasthanas, they form the fundamental source books of the teaching of Vedanta, the teaching of Brahmajnana, Brahmavidya. And in addition to these three, there are the writings of many acharyas like Shankaracharya, Vidyaranya, Sureshwaracharya. There are many voluminous works. So many books are written based on the Prasthanatraya, inquiring into the teaching of the Prasthanatraya, elaborating on the teaching of the Prasthanatraya. Thus, there are many texts. And Shankaracharya says, all the teachings of the texts can be summed up in half a shloka. What is that? Brahma satyam jagan mithya jivo brahmaiva naparaha. Brahma satyam. Brahman is satya. Jagat is mithya. And the jiva. Jiva is the individual. An individual is called jiva. As long as you identify as an individual with a limited identity, then you are a jiva. I am an individual. I am the doer of certain actions. And I enjoy the result of the action. As long as I have this identification, I am a jiva. Karta bhokta paralokagami jivaha. Who is a jiva? Karta bhokta paralokagami. One who does the actions, the doer, he identifies as the karta, the doer of the actions, and he identifies as the bhokta. Bhokta means one who experiences the result of the action, one who enjoys the results of the action, both pleasure and pain. And paralokagami, the jiva, when it leaves this world, it goes to another world. It goes from one body to another body, takes rebirth. See, when now you are a human being, now you are identifying yourself as a human being. But when we die, when we leave this body, we will cease to be human beings. As soon as you left the body, you are not a human being. But still you are a being. And the being, it will go to another body. It is not necessarily a human body. It can be a dog's body or a cat's body, whatever. The same jiva is there. The jiva is same. The same jiva was earlier a human body, was earlier in a human body. and then it was called a human being. Now the same jiva has become a cat because it has taken a cat's body. So the one who identifies as the karta, bhokta, and paralokagami, he goes from one body to another body, then he is called jiva. Often we identify ourselves as jiva, but then the Shastra teaches us, the Upanishads reveal, your true nature is not jiva also. In reality, you are not jiva also. Your jiva identity is a misconception. You are a jiva as long as there is ignorance. You are the doer of actions as long as there is ajnana, ignorance. In reality, you are not the doer, you are not the enjoyer, and you are not traveling from one body to another body also. You do not have body at all. The body is mithya. The mind is mithya. Your true self, your true nature is the Brahman. Nothing else. Nothing short of Brahman. You are nothing short of Brahman. Jivo Brahmaiva naparaha. This is the vision of the Vedanta. And the same idea is conveyed here, emphasized here. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Om Narayana.
Hari Om.
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you.